Within each and every role player lives this homeless character who wants nothing more than to quiet the heartbeat of every living thing that stands in his way. Today we celebrate this all too familiar character with...
Well now, looky here. It's the Murder Hobo Show.
Sure, I punched the, no, I see right out of the gate I hit the wrong one, and I did it again. There we go. All right. I see it. We're a little rusty. It's been 3 weeks since we've done a thing. Welcome to the Murder Hobo RPG Show, episode 38, Drowned War, more because we did this one before, but we're back at it again. This is gonna be sweet. Recorded June 16th, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Gary, aka the Murder Hobo. And I am here with Uncle J. Raz, a.k.a. Captain Colon, better known as the Steamer Sinker, the Water Plopper, the Sea Biscuit Bomber of Bold Destruction. What's going on, Uncle J?
Not a whole lot, my man. And let's tell the fine people that are watching, this is our first time. We're both in Pacific time now. We're both. This is the Murder Hobo Show is officially in the same time zone.
Real people time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, real people time as we call it. But yeah, man. How are you doing there, bud?
Well, I'm still breathing. That's the main thing. My grandma died a couple of weeks ago, so you know all about that. Got to deal with that. It's kind of sad. She had a great life, good woman. She was like literally, when I'm thinking about it, because I got to write a eulogy tomorrow thing with my cousins and stuff like that. And I had the perfect grandma. Like, when you think of grandma, that was my grandma. She was it.
Yeah.
Liked to bake, liked to cook, always took care of the kids, never got mad at us. She got dementia near the end, which was really funny. But the funny part about it's not that dementia's funny, but the funny part about it is she would get really mad at her kids because they'd be like, oh, they stole my freaking keys because she couldn't drive, right? So she's like, she'd get all mad at her kids and then she'd curse them out. Like she'd just yell at them and get real mad and stuff like that. But never a sour word towards any of her grandchildren in her dementia. She was still just sweet as a pie, perfect grandma. So yeah, got to deal with that. And other than that, man, the wild die's finished. So that's it. I got nothing on the go. I feel like I'm sort of falling into a GM's kind of a slump here. I need to get motivated a little bit.
Well, see, that's what happens here. I came up here to knock you out of that slump, my man.
Yeah.
Now that we're both in the same area. I mean, we're seriously only like 4 hours away from each other. The borders, the rumors talking, the border's supposed to open up soon. That they're going to let Canucks and people in Washington, they're going to open up the Washington Canadian border. So it's a good chance, with everybody's vaccinated, you come on down here, I can go up there, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, we can actually do some gaming in person because it's been like going on 3 years since you and I have like hung out in person.
Yeah, since we got drunk together, played weird RPG games.
Right there, Con on the Cob.
Without X cards that we probably should have played with.
Right. That was lesson learned. That was like the episode that was like, or the moment where we're like, maybe these things are handy. I don't know.
Oh my God. So tonight we are joined by Dustin the Savage Zealot Smith. When's the last time anybody called you that?
Ages ago. It's been what, a year and a half, 2 years?
Yeah, going on
even longer.
Going on 2 years. I want to say
wow.
September what? September 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
like
I wasn't even in the last episode, I don't think.
Wow.
That was probably the best episode.
Yeah, I know, right? There was no mention of Star Wars.
Always made me sad.
Like Kathleen Kennedy, she sent out like her goons, and they just took us down.
That was it.
That's why I tuned in for the premium Star Wars content that Dustin was able to provide each and every episode of the Savage Worlds GM podcast.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like somebody really has to spread the gospel, like the truth, that there were only 6 Star Wars movies.
Right? See?
How's
the Christmas special?
How's the rest of the guys doing? How's Jared Savage Daddy gunning? You talked to Chris Fox much, and oh brother, man, who's the other guy?
Dave.
Dave.
It's Dave. Dave
Yes,
Scott.
the rules maven, Dave the rules maven Scott. His name skipped my mind for a second, but I was just watching tonight because I had to
All
remember
coming
what
back
they called
to
you. It's slow and steady.
Uh-huh.
My dementia kicked in a little
What?
bit there too. How are the guys? Have you hang out with them? You talk to them? You're still part of
Oh yeah,
the little creative group and
we.
stuff?
Oh yeah, Well, I've got Star City Savages, which is my personal company, but I'm still with Atomic Ninja, and Atomic Ninja puts out one shot a month. And on top of that, we just released Dead End a while back, and I don't know if any of you folks picked it up, but it's out and it's pretty brutal. I got it. My copy's like right here,
Wow.
and
Now is that from
yeah,
drive through print?
yeah,
Yeah, see.
I got it on PDF. I picked it up from drive through.
To be honest, I have neither, but this is the reason why I wanted to order it in print, but I can't get anything across the border right now because I order it to my my PO box, and with the border being closed for the last year and a half, so I've been full on waiting. So I'm super excited. It's going to be like probably the first thing on my list. I got to pick up my Rifts box and head down to Jay's house, and then me and him are going to open it together like a couple of kids at a candy store. That, my Skinny Minis, my Guardians of Umbra. And now I should probably order my Dead End, and it'll be there when it's time to go.
Yeah.
Well, if you pick it up, there. So in that, like, there's a couple of pictures of yours truly, since we did a grindhouse sort of art style. You can thank the world famous Carl Kiesler for that. The man's a virtuoso.
Yep. I would never mind what I would do to Carl if I ever met him.
Well, that's the reason why you have to stay 50 feet away from him at all times.
Hey, restraining
court-mandated order.
Yeah, they don't mean anything to me. I live in Canada. His rules don't apply to me.
He doesn't care.
It's an international incident. But like, if you look like in there, these little snippets, these little bits, the survivor's journal, I actually wrote those. And it came about as a miscommunication. Dave was like, "Hey, can you make some flavor text?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I wrote out like an entire journal of like events. And he's like, "Damn it, Dustin, why did you do that?" Now it's gotta be in the
Yeah, now it's got to be in the book. That's sweet. All right. Well, this is a podcast about role-playing games because we like them all. As usual, we're going to flippity-flap through this in an attempt to sound like we know what we're talking about. And suck it, John Marlin.
That's sort of the that's our little that's our little motto here. Second, John Marlin. Pastor Nutsack. I like what Eric calls
Pastor Scrotum.
Yep, Pastor Scrot. That's what I'm going to call him. And we are an RPG entertainment podcast. And although you might occasionally be able to glimpse a nugget of truth or inspiration from our many years of gaming experience, we promise it will be unintentional. Also, please note we stream this podcast live on Twitch and convert it to podcast format. You can check us out every second Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, unless something happens, and then it'll be another time. In fact, I want to see if Gary will do another episode next week, so that way we can stagger those episodes. Because we didn't do one last week because I was on the road, getting ready to move up here, and that's normally our normal time. So we got this episode going. I want to see if Gary might want to do one next week if he can, so that way we can stagger those out. But anyway, take it away, Gary.
It might be too much. It might just be too much us. Right? We're like ice cream. You can only have, some people can only have so many. We're like a really good thing.
If you want me to come back next week, I can actually do that too.
Well,
we'll bring you back anytime, man.
Yeah, we'll do some community questions. It'll be like, we'll do like our own little faux Savage Worlds GMs podcast. I'll be Jared Gunning, and sorry, but Uncle Jay, you gotta be the other guy, Scott W.
I gotta be Scott. Well, it's because my military background,
right? Yeah, you
got. Also, I think I got a little more hair than Scott does.
Do you think? Oh yeah. That's right. He is bald. All right. So on tonight's show, we're going to be talking about Drowned War again with our esteemed guest, the one, the only, Dustin the Savage Zealot Smith. And then it says Gary asks about what's been happening with our games. Why is that? That's in the wrong spot, Jay. What happened there? Did you edit some stuff?
That's exactly where it goes. It just you plop that in there, and that's right before we start going on and talking about our game. We usually intro, and then we start talking about what games we've been running. And since I don't think you got anything going on, and I just moved up here. I don't think we really have anything to talk about gaming wise. I'm trying to do what Dustin's doing. I'm trying to set up like um, I don't know, like a community for Savage Worlds up here in the greater Portland, the PDX, the Vancouver, Portland area, and or even the Pacific Northwest for that matter. I mean, if there's interest up in Seattle and whatnot, but that's all I'm trying to do, and like see if I can get some. Been scoping out the game stores around here, and they're pretty sweet. There's more games. Like you can swing a dead cat, and you're going to hit about 12 game stores. It's awesome. I'm not kidding, man. I went into this one place. It's Dice Age Games, and this is just the first one that I stopped into. And they're selling like that battle systems terrain, that stuff that I like, and,
Yep.
and bought a whole bunch. Like I can just pop over there and get new stuff. I don't have to like get it from England anymore. And they told me that they have like a room, when pandemic stuff, when they feel comfortable with everything, they're going to rent out. They have a straight like role play room that like GMs can rent out for like $5 an hour. I'm like, that's a deal. Rent that shit out for like $20, man. Run you one shot. That's what I'm talking about. We could do like a one shot, Savage Worlds one shot Saturday or something like that. You come down, make an appearance. That's what I'm thinking.
Hell yeah, I'm good with that. We got to play some riffs together. Or I've been reading
Yes.
Necessary Evil the last little while I've been listening to it.
Oh, I love, man. That if I'm waiting so hard for the new Superpowers companion to come out, because Necessary Evil is probably near and dear to my heart, and I would love to run the campaign from Breakout all the way to a Breakout version, then the regular Explorers Edition Necessary Evil, and then the third one that's going to come out is Cosmic Crisis, where I guess all that stuff's going to take place in space, which makes me super happy.
Wow, when's that happening?
Well, I think that's going to happen with the companions, man, because that's what they're talking about doing. Because and this is don't quote me on this. This is just my pure speculation on all of this. I mean, I don't have any inside knowledge to any of this stuff, but I would imagine that they're going to start launching some, with the companions, that they're going to launch a sort of like a companion series, like a setting that goes along with the companion. And Necessary Evil always it's their premier supers setting, so it's probably going to go hand in hand with that. So. But I did hear
Not only that, but they just released the audiobook too, so it would make sense that a parallel release schedule would be going on.
Yeah, and this, like I said, I don't quote me on any of this stuff. Don't say, "Oh, Uncle Jerry is blah blah blah." No, this is just my speculation. Me putting, just me trying to piece things together. Just and hopefully waiting that the companions are going to come out pretty quickly. But I think like the horror might have some new ETU elements or something. But then again, like. And there's that Holler series done by Tim Early, and I think that's fantasy. So I think that might come in conjunction with the fantasy companion. But that's just, like I said, that's all speculation. I can't speak to any of that stuff.
Ron Blessing
looks pretty good.
Yeah, Ron Blessing over at the Savage Interludes podcast was talking about some audiobooks that had come out, and I think he had mentioned that. I don't remember, but I remember it piqued my interest, and I meant to reach out to him and ask him where the audiobooks were at. Now, are they on like Audible or something like that, or
Podium? They're on Podium.
Okay. And what came out? Necessary Evil, and is there? I think there's a couple of them, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's a handful of these like little audiobooks that came out. They were just like these little novels that like Clint Black and I think Shane wrote in conjunction with like Necessary Evil, like some backstory.
Yeah.
With a lot of this, or just like novels of things that take place, and I guess somebody's reading them for us. So
they're based off of the Wendigo tales. Like if you go on Drive-Thru RPG, you can actually buy the PDFs of the stories that they wrote.
Yeah, I have them all. I just haven't read them. Maybe I should download them to my thing and listen to them. It's kind of hard to, I use my cell phone, and on my cell phone I have this program called Moonreader. But Moonreader will actually read the PDFs. The problem is it doesn't always read them correctly, because when you have two columns, sometimes it reads the second column before the first one. So it's talking about a thing, and then all of a sudden it loops back, and then it starts talking about some other stuff. But by the time it gets to the bottom of that stuff, it's right back to where the beginning of the first thing was. So occasionally you'll get a good one where it'll just read it perfectly. But even when it reads it perfectly, it still sounds like Stephen Hawking's. Like, welcome to Necessary Evil. This is the story of... But it sounds like
Kindle,
a woman too.
Kindle actually has like a reader program in there that if you open up your Kindle, you have a page read, but there's no change in tone. It's just, this is strictly how the voice is going to talk to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh gosh, please
no
put
inflection.
down the gun.
Yes, please stop molesting my face with your fist, mister. It hurts very much.
Again, Robot Uprising.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, Dustin, what are you gaming? What do you got on the go? Are you just playing a lot of Drowned War? Or you got some Rifts action or some Savage Star Wars? What are you after?
I wrote a book.
Oh yeah, that's right. Lex
Been
Talos. What
writing.
does it say? A war novel, something or
A
other?
drowned war novel. Like, this is
Wow.
actually fiction for the setting that's coming out, and the characters that are in it actually make appearance in the setting book.
Wow. That's pretty sweet.
That's
Lex
awesome.
Talos, man. That's a sweet porn star
Yeah.
name.
Oh man, yeah.
Mm.
It's Latin. It's the basic concept of retributional law, and it sort of plays. It's a play on words based on the plot. Um, I ran a one shot of like the adventure, and I took the characters that I created and I put them through the same scenario. So it's, if anybody watched the Star City Savages one shot of that I put out on my YouTube channel a couple of weeks back, it was pretty much the same plot, just with different characters. So I wrote a book. I've been just working on. It's weird. It's like I've been bootstrapping. I've been noodling everything. Um, I've had some help from some really good people getting this off the ground. I'm releasing one shots for the Drowned War, and I've been working on the setting. And let me tell you, it started out as one thing, and then it has morphed into something very different.
Yeah.
Um, I had,
Five,
yeah,
6 years, you said. That's a long time.
yeah, a long time. Um, and the thing about it is, most of the changes, about 60 to 80%, have happened within the past year. Just going from like this vague nebula of thought and then just making it sort of make sense, and then having to trim things out. And once I've trimmed things out, then having to add it back in, and having some people show interest in it and then say, hey, well, you might want to tweak this and that. Um, I don't know if you guys have ever heard, there's a book called The War of Art,
I don't read. Reading's
and
for losers.
Yeah,
they
he
have an
doesn't read.
Audible. You can actually listen to it if you want it.
As
Yeah,
long
he
as
was.
it's under 72 pages, I'll take a look at it. Are you still working full time as a psychologist?
Mental health clinician? No, I'm not.
My man is a full time author now, dude.
Right,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Moving on up in the RPG world. You got some
Well, trying to.
you got some medals under your belt. Well, you know what? Why don't we just? I'm going to smash a button here. We're gonna listen to the intro split, and we'll get right into Drowned War. You can tell us all about it.
Sure thing.
I always like waiting for the last little bit of that. Drowned War. So we talked about this in episode 18, which was, I want to say, we looked it up. It was December of last year, so we're 6-7 months past that. You're ready to kickstart this biatch. Unfortunately, you picked a bad time because you're going up against the old Savage Rifts Master, the Atlantis. Now you're coming out the week after. Are you sure you want to do that?
Well, no, I didn't. I literally went and asked a whole bunch of people. I'm like, hey, is there a Kickstarter coming? Hey, is there a Kickstarter
No.
coming? Hey, is there a Kickstarter coming? And all of the aces were like, no, we don't have a Kickstarter. And then Peg was like,
Boom.
but I think knowing my history, it's fitting that it's Rifts, and it's even more poetic that it's Atlantis, considering that they're both
Right.
aquatic theme settings. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm open.
That's like an extra punch in the nards. That's like Peg came out of the back alley, said, give me your wallet. And you were like, okay, take my wallet. And they still punched you in the nuts. That's where you're at
I was
right
going to say
now.
it's more like, pretty much. Yeah. You know what? The way I look at
I
it,
mean-
I'm like, back both of them, folks. You'll just get more material to run with.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying too. Because I mean, well, I want to hear I want to hear you tell us more about Drowned War. I mean, I have a pretty good idea because when you talk to you about the Jumpstart, and I've read, and I've read what you threw out there, but I mean, I think it's almost to a point where like Rifts is its own, it's its own entity,
Yeah.
and people are going to go. I think Rifts at this point, man. I mean, you might get some people who are casually into it, but like I'm almost to the point too where like you either have diehard Rifts people or you don't. I'm a diehard Rifts guy, and I think Gary is too. And I think you love Rifts just as much as we
Oh
do,
yeah.
but it's its own thing, and Ground War is especially its own thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, why not back both? Is you're not getting they're not the same. Just because you have water, man, doesn't mean that it's the same damn thing. You know what I mean?
I would say that I don't view it as a competitor because Peg is like the
Mm.
they're the progenitor of all of us. I just view it as complementary.
Right.
I'm looking at it as
Exactly.
you can take some of the things that are happening, like some of the creatures that I put out there or some of the concepts, and you can pull them over to riffs, or you can, I don't know, like I don't think it's like you might be able to grab some of the vehicles from Atlantis and pull them over, but like riffs is superheroes. Let's just throw that
Yeah.
out there. Riffs is
Exactly.
superheroes in the apocalypse.
Hmm.
But no, I'm not. I'm looking at their newsletter and I'm thinking, that's beautiful art. Oh, it's so
Right.
pretty.
Because when we
Oh.
had Roberson on here to talk about it, he was really trying. He was like, "Yeah, just wait until you see what the art's going to look like." He was really touting
Yeah.
that too. So
Sean's a good
yeah,
guy.
yeah, I
I
like.
like him.
He is, man. I mean, yeah, that's the thing too, man. Everybody's, yeah, if they were jerks, man, it'd be easier to like, to make fun of all that stuff. Like, screw Riz, man, screw all that stuff. But like, Roberson's a nice guy, and
Yeah.
everybody else, the Birchers are cool,
And the riffs, the Savage Riffs community is like one of the best communities I've seen.
I agree.
Like, yeah, they're the best people. I mean, anything can happen Thursday.
Hmm.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did have
That's
you got to combine that somewhere, or did Victor do
Or
that? He combined it all up into a.
no, well, that Dustin did that. Dustin was doing that on
yeah.
Melee or whatever. I think.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
No,
Victor
I
made me an
combined it.
admin.
Like,
Oh, that's right.
yeah, I did. I gave you guys a document, but then I was like, is this like, does this flow? I mean, like, will that? Because here's the thing, like, I don't want to upset Palladium. I want to stay on their good side,
Hmm.
and I want to stay on Pinnacle's good side. So I'm like, you get to this point, you're like, well, I mean, I'm sure that like all of this stuff, like we've worded it in such a way, and we've stripped so much out of it that it's in line, but I don't want to
Right.
step on their toes. I want to
Um,
keep them happy.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Uh,
thing I would always equate it to, all the anything can happen Thursdays. I always just thought it was just another version, just like an online version, like a hook, line, and sinker. And I don't think anybody's
Yeah,
going
it
to step.
was.
Yeah.
And I took like the D4 roll from that,
Mm,
and I went back again. This is another area. Like I went back to other people where they had made their anything can happen,
mm,
and I would add like the whole D4 roll to it for theirs, and I'm like, not trying to be insulting here. I kind of like the idea. I took
yeah.
the D4, the hook, line, and sinker, the D4 roll,
Hmm.
and I'm going to be using some of that and some of the Savage Tales for the Drowned War.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
before Google crashed, Victor grabbed all of the material and compiled into one massive PDF. So there's
Mm-hmm.
a PDF out there. I'm sure I have it on my hard drive somewhere that is loaded from like all of the Google Savage Rift stuff, just combined it, plus everything else that Victor's done. And he likes to get his little paws into everything. I don't think there isn't a setting or an idea that he hasn't on some side level stuck his finger in and said, here's my take on this kind of a deal. He gets after it. I don't know where he finds the time. I think he's got ADHD or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. OCD, what I call that.
It's like the skies parted and the sun shone down, and it says you have been chosen. Roll D20.
So, Drowned War. When does this take place? What year are we talking? How far in the future do we go?
We don't know.
It is.
That's one of the major that's one of the major issues is that we know that the Anthropocene happened, and the Anthropocene is the slow flooding of the Earth. It's climate change causing instability and storms, so on and so forth. But the people that are there and alive, they don't know how far back it was. It's beyond their memory.
Now,
If you're on, oh,
is
go
there
ahead.
going to be like a secret little place of like an island somewhere we can find?
Usually, yes. There is junk islands, like there's the junk flotilla of refuse, and what happened there is they lashed a bunch of aircraft carriers and ships together, and they created this sort of floating city out of it. Then you have the man-made cities or the sanctioned flotillas. You have Flotilla Oceania and Flotilla Pacifica, and I guess the closest thing you could relate them to is Flotilla Oceania is 1984. It's an authoritarian government, but it's definitely done so with the power of force, and it's sort of juxtaposed with this neo-noir Lovecraftian horror aspect going on there. Then Flotilla Pacifica is Los Angeles in the 90s. It's like, I don't know if you guys remember like Force Works or when Stan Lee was trying to
yeah.
yeah, when the 1990s extreme LA superheroes.
Yep.
Well, it's Brave New World. And instead of using Soma, they use celebrity status as sort of the drug that medicates people. So Flotilla Pacifica is controlled by the media and how it shapes your mind and how you're supposed to feel about yourself based off of like the gazing society. It's the idea that they create an image that all of the standard citizens are supposed to live up to. So when I did the playtest and the players went from Flotilla Oceania to Flotilla Pacifica, they knew they didn't like Flotilla Oceania, but it took them a little bit of time before they realized they really didn't like Flotilla Pacifica either.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where we're standing at now is that I had to take that aspect. I had to take Oceania and Pacifica and just pull them out of the core book. It was just too big. It was too big and too scattered, and all of the playtest notes that I got back was there's just too much going on. So I'm like, okay, we'll narrow our focus down to Flotilla Refuse, which is the heart and soul, and then we'll work to bring out Oceania and Pacifica later.
Gotcha.
But we have multiple flotillas that the idea is that you can play in any genre based off of whether or not you're in a flotilla or not.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. And you know what? Future content, man. You sort of just future-proofed yourself. So we're going to be essentially this book then is the Drowned War is going to take place on Flotilla Refuse. The other two, I'm sure, will come in. You know, you can probably go and visit and stuff like that. But in a later date, you can sort of just zone in, like Evil Dead or Necessary Evil did. They got their little cities. So the second one takes place in New York. This one takes place in Star City, kind of a thing. And it, that's a great idea. So what happens in Flotilla Refuse? The adventure that you start with, that I think we played or we talked about was you end up on Flotilla Refuse, and you have to go to a place to look for some things, some people that are missing, and you find some kind of weird mutated golem guy that was there.
So that was Farmer's Market. It's right. It's in the Jumpstart. The basic idea is that you end up on Flotilla Refuse, and you need money, or else you're going to get jumped by slavers, because it's one of the things that happens. They'll just grab you and say, "Well, you owe us money." Like Flotilla Refuse is a debt-driven society. I patterned it a lot after the concept of like ancient Rome and like Palestinian era. Like somebody from like the Roman government could just grab you and say, "Hey, you owe us taxes." It's like, well, I don't have the money to pay your taxes. Great, you're a slave now. that's kind of how the old world was. So what you had to do in farmers market is you had to find a job really quick so that you could get weapons and you could make connections. You do that by meeting up with Phage Thompson, who has this job. It's like, okay, I run a rat farm. I need you to go out to the rat farm because the people haven't come back. When you get there, you find that the rats are freaking out. They're panicking. There's some kind of sludge all over the place, and the workers are dead. As you investigate, something called a polyswarm appears. Polyswarm is a mutation, like someone who has become so mutated that their genetic code broke down and they just turned into glue. And he ended up in like the rat's nest when he turned into glue. So this person, like it's got the torso and the body of a human, but then there's this swarm of rats coming out of where the head and the décolletage would be.
You're gonna make me throw up, man.
Yeah, like
That's awesome.
Oh, I got a picture, man. Like somebody drew it. Let me see if I can find it really quick. It's in my drive. But yeah, that was that. I just released another one recently that was False Doctrine, and it deals. Go pick it up on Drive Through. It's funny because Farm Apocalypse, which was with Atomic Ninja, came out just after False Doctrine came out. So I thought that was kind of funny that I've got two products from two different companies out, like back to back right now. I'm kind of glad about that. All right, Jay. I am sending you the link, so check your email or check your messages.
All right, I'll send this over to you.
Jay just vomits. Ooh,
oh, that thing is crazy looking. In fact, yeah, you got it, Gary. I need to send this to you, man, so you can add it.
So this thing has been split up by some kind of scientific goop that is called ambrosia, I believe, and the soup.
So ambrosia is, so you have pulmenti, which is the soup. It's the stuff that's like dirty. It's the dirtier mutagen, and ambrosia is the purified mutagen. And a race called the Conil, which is brain in the jar robots, they need ambrosia to stay alive. But the soup is a genetic accelerant that they use it in order to reach transhumanism, which is cyberware and spliceware. Spliceware being genetic mutations. Jay, I just sent you a link to the Cora, which is a human coral colony.
Oh, I saw that. That's pretty cool. And I'm actually sending Gary these. I'm like, if he checks his MeWe, he can actually add those, pull those up on Twitch if he wants to, if he's cool enough to do that. Or actually, so if we wanted to show those off, but no,
check it out.
I mean, the art.
I could totally do that because I am set up.
Man.
Now that you mention it, let's go right monitor full screen on the old Twitch. So this is the rat guy. So he just looks like a pink meat sock. Like he looks humanish, but he doesn't really have any veins or anything, and he looks like a liverwurst in a tube that takes up human form with a bunch of rats and stuff poking out of his head. So that's not very cool. And then the other one is the second one here, which is this guy. And he looks like some coral-encrusted human, gray-skinned underwater dweller-looking dudester.
That guy is cool,
but the Cora have the Cora. They're not a mutation. They're infected by mutated coral, and the colony grows all over their body. It makes them stronger. It increases their size. They have something called hard points, which means they have natural weapons. The problem is that it reduces their pace, it penalizes their athletics, so it makes it hard for them to swim. So it's a double-edged sword in a world that's covered by water. It's like, we're going to give you all of these benefits to tempt you, but if you get caught outside the boat, it's only a matter of time before you're done.
You got some androids going on because Jay just sent me this one, which is brain in a jar on top of an android body.
I love it.
That's pretty sweet
Brain in-
looking. Now, hopefully,
brain
that's
in a jar
bulletproof
robot.
glass,
Maybe.
right?
I can't take credit for the Continental. One of our writers, Luis Ortero, he sent in when I was, because believe it or not, like the Drowned War predates my time on the SWGM podcast. I was actually I had a website that was just a blog that I was just slowly adding more stuff to, and he's like, can I put like a little guest spot on there? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. So he put in Bathphobia, and I was like, Lou, I really like these. Can I use this? And he's like, absolutely. So yeah, we got an artist, and they drew up the Connell, and there you go, man. I think they're pretty neat.
Yeah.
That might be my favorite so far. I love androids, especially like the brain in a jar type. Yeah, especially that's so
So
awesome.
he came up with the Connell, and in the bestiary, I went in and I came up with Connell variants. So one of them is a heavy frame Connell, which is like a war robot that has like shielding and such. So it's huge and has like, it's like armor plated. And then another one is called the pickle jar. The pickle jar is what happens when a Connell has a psychic awakening and their head just pops off the robot body. So you've got this floating head running around screaming, trying to find its body and attacking anybody that thinks stole it. It's like, you have a body. Is that my body? Why did you take my body? Give me back my body. Psychic blast.
The races, the Connell, are an advanced cybernetic beings consisting of a human brain and neural network. The last vestiges of human organics sealed within the coffin of a robotic body. That's what the Connell are. You've also got Kitsune, which are like a foxy race, slightly more agile than normal humans, but otherwise could pass for humans. The Cores we saw, which are the they look like gray-skinned humans covered in coral. They're a little bit tougher and shit like that. And modified race says Android 2.0. So what are these? Standard androids?
So here's the thing with a standard android from Savage Worlds, it's very polite. It's like, yes, sir, do whatever you want. Yes, I'm just a piece of property. But I'm more of I like Blade Runner. I like the no, I'm just gonna blend into the background. So if you're an Android 2.0, you have become aware. Like there is something driving your consciousness. Like it's a desire. It's something that just drives you nuts. It could be something simple like you just want French fries. Like you just really live to eat French fries. Or it could be complicated, like you have to solve these equations, or you love art or music. But then you have this whole issue of now that you're sentient and driven, you either have to be an outsider and be that piece of property, or you have to hide the fact that you're an android or that you're sentient. Like, because if you're sentient, the people that own you will mind wipe you. And if the people know you're an android, then you're property. You don't have rights because you're just a machine.
What are these?
And one of the
One
of the characters in the book is they come across him a little bit later, and all the people who read it really like the guy because he's kind of funny. But he turns out to be an android, and at first he tries to hide it, but once you get like ravaged by a bunch of like wilderness beasts and cannibals, it's kind of hard to pretend you're not a robot.
You've got a couple other races here. You've got the Antiquarian, descendants of an ancient society of historians. They're just humanoids.
So they're your Aquarians, like from Savage Worlds. They are
Okay.
they took the spliceware because they want to study the history of the world that was, and they're so driven to do that they actually they say, okay, we're going to become fish people, and we're going to go and dig around in the depths.
I'm liking this more and more. Anthophyllin. That's you got to stop
Mhm.
using these big words, man. Bug people, humanoids with insect-like wings. Rumors
Right.
about they come from a floating city above the tangle brush. That's cool, floating city. So you can be winged, you can be fish people, you can be a bug person. What have we got here? Unionists are short, hardy mutants. So these are some kind of like dwarf-looking dudes evolved to work in the
They
lower
are
parts.
absolutely dwarves.
Excellent.
The Unionists are your fantasy dwarfs. They live in the Bilgewater Union is they live in the base of refuse and they make sure that it doesn't sink. Like that's what they do. They're loosely based around like clan and familial bonds. And the diver lords and everybody topside or sunside just leaves them alone because I mean they are keeping the boats afloat. And the unionists actually live and work as unions in the sanctioned flotilla because they're designed to genetically be workers. Like their job is to keep flotillas from sinking.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you work elves into this setting? Because if you did, I'm out.
There's
The
frog
kid
people.
do it.
There's the frog people, man. Those are cooler than elves.
The frog people are your halflings. Instead, like they're kind of like the sneak thief, but they have the leap and then they have the wall walker. So yeah, they're kind of like your Gripplies, but I was thinking more along the lines of halflings.
Yeah.
Those are called
In my
sprites.
sprites, and in my mind, I don't know. There's an actress called Jessica Parker Kennedy. She was like on one season of The Flash, and every time I envision the sprite, it's just her just having like this weird quirky moment, and I'm like, okay, I can dig this.
And now we start to delve into the Furies a little bit, and these are some spliceware augmented type folks, man. It looks like these are more like the yeah, you're like your Reavers and your cyber pirates and whatnot, man.
uh, the Furies are they're a nation of pirates,
Hmm.
and they are a fraternal order of effectively nulls.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So if you play a Fury as a player character, then you are most likely a descendant of a Fury.
Mhm.
Uh, because what happens is with spliceware, it's hereditary. Like if someone with spliceware mates with a baseline or a standard template human, then the child will be the spliceware or the variant version. I call them variants because they're all human, but they're variants off of their genetic code. If you were to take, say, a Fury and Sprite, they they wouldn't be able to make children together.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that brings up the issue of like spliceware, and people are like, "How does spliceware work?" I'm like, okay, it works based off of strain, and if you go to the positive racial abilities in Savage Worlds, it's kind of like you're buying an edge to purchase some of these abilities.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
I can dig that.
So cyberware is obviously, you're going to put a robotic arm on, or get yourself some
Hmm.
robotic legs or something like that. Spliceware is splicing some kind of genetic manipulation into yourself.
Yep.
Give yourself like some kind of like frog abilities, rubbery skin, or something like the ability to leap really high. Is that the only two that are in here? It's just, I mean, that kind of covers the gambit, doesn't it? Cyberware and then the genetic part. You either have the machine part or the DNA part of it, right? Have you ever
So
read?
only baseline. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, have you ever read the after? Have you checked that deal out?
I backed it. Yeah, I have a
Man,
copy. I haven't had a chance to like get into it yet, and part of it is that I didn't want to read it while I was still working on the Drowned War because I didn't want to like have it. I'm
yeah,
just gonna like just sit here. It's gonna be in my mind, and oh my
Right.
gosh, I have so many creative, original ideas, and I'm like, oh gosh, I can't read other people's stuff until I get done with this. But the after looks cool. I'm jonesing to play it. If you guys are gonna play online, hook me up with that.
Might
yeah.
have to do
Um,
something, man.
Jay's read. We did a review of it and we went over it and stuff like that. I haven't read the adventures. Jay has read the adventures. So if anybody's going to be running it, it's going to be Jay. I've held off running the adventures in the hopes that Jay would run it. But
I listened to that episode. It was pretty cool. It was like the whole like parts of the physical world can be affected by the aliens. I thought that was neat. And I'm like,
with the nanobots and
Nothing-
stuff like that, which was cool.
yeah.
And nothing from nothing too. I just drove through that part of the country, through Wyoming. So I actually drove right through where they have the horror Headstone Hill, where that in Deadlands, where that whole campaign takes place. And also too, I was over the, I just drove through Wind River, where all that stuff was, where the after actually takes place, man. And so that part of the country, man, is amazing. So that whole, that just kind of speaks to me. But we ain't talking about the after, man. We're talking about the war.
It's just interesting because they have this sort of a similar kind of a thing. They have two things that you have cyberware and you have the spliceware. They covered both of those too, and I'm just trying to think if there's like maybe is there a third option or something like that I haven't thought of. But that's kind of it. You have things that affect material, and then you have things that affect like DNA manipulation and stuff, and really isn't much else you can throw in there. Variants, new races, variants. So there is going to be an ability for you to create your own sort of human hybrid sort of thing with spliceware. I'm going to give myself some flippers or something like that. I could be flipper boy.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be sweet.
Yeah, that's the idea. With the spliceware, it's the idea that if you wanted to gradually create your own sort of race or personalize your character to the nth degree, start with the baseline human and work from there. Now, if you wanted to start with a different race or different variant and you still wanted to make changes, you can go the cyberware route. And cyberware is based off of positive racial traits as well. Like I always looked at it and I thought, this is just so weird that we've made it so complicated in so many of the works when it's literally right there in the core book. You can change things up.
Yeah.
Jay, if you were to create a character and you were going to get some spliceware, what would you splice into yourself?
For me?
Well, yeah, your name's Jay, isn't it?
Yeah, right. No, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that too, because I was just about to ask Dustin. Like, I saw something in here that caught my eye where it said superheroes, and I'm a big supers guy. Is that how we would go about getting superpowers or something to that effect?
I asked
you can't.
It's just simmer down, ladies. I asked you a question about spliceware, and you just like went off on a different.
No, I'm not going off on a tangent. This is all gonna. You're the king of tangents. You gotta get on me.
No, I just wanted. I'm
gonna talk about gardening the other day, and then I'm gonna talk, look at my garden. So save it. I just want to know about my.
So the idea of it is the limitations are that you can't pick up like an innate power and you can't get superpowers because it would just completely throw everything out of whack. It would throw the game off. And the recommendation is get the arcane background gifted as an edge instead.
Gotcha.
All right, Jay. So what are you splicing into yourself, or do I have to go first?
You go first.
All right.
It's going to be something either wiener or butt related.
Oh. Okay, moving on.
I'll ruin everything.
Thanks for taking the wind out of my sails, you jerk. Oh man, I was gonna say I want to get like a shark head so that I can eat stuff underwater, but I'm gonna have elephant wiener spliced in too. So I'd have like a drag kind of a thing, or maybe an anchor.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
That'll work.
I'd be Sharkman with a giant elephant weenus. And I'd get all the ladies pregnant.
No, man,
you learn the strangest things when you start studying this stuff. All right, so a whale penis is called a dork.
Yeah, that is fucking sweet. The Gathering of Dorks. Remember Jamie Pearson's first show, right?
Yeah.
Gathering of whale penises.
I'm just like, who comes up with this?
Man.
And lo and behold, that's where we, that's probably where the dang, where it it sort of evolved into like popular culture, the phrase or whatever.
Well, it's kind of sweet if you think about it. I mean, there's so much diversity in the ocean that you could create like an extremely cool mutated character. Like you could be like a clam
Right.
guy. You know what I mean? You walk around sort of like a normal human, but all of a sudden, like you start getting punched or duked out, or somebody starts shooting at you, and bam, you close up like a clamshell and fall over, and you got extra toughness. What do you think of that
That would
action,
pretty
Jay?
much be that would be
Yeah.
like the armor power.
Right. I'd still have a big clam wiener that would poke out of my shell like one of those little tongues. Bloop.
With a giant pearl on the end of it.
That would be my Prince Albert. All right,
Right.
man, shit's going south here. What's happening? Um,
I'm such a bad influence on you guys. I'm just such a bad influence.
so there is no kind of superhero powers. There's no kind of magic. I see here that under character concepts, you've got obviously there's alkalites because people are going to believe in, you know,
Mhm.
doesn't matter where you're at, that's going to happen. But this algae mancer. So is there that just makes me think of somebody's been able to sort of maybe work in potion like apothecary, but they're using algae kind of a thing. Is there any kind of potion making kind of stuff in here?
One of the factions on Flotilla Refuse is the Temple of Floating Truth. And they trace their lineage all the way back to the founding of Refuse when there was a dispute and a murder actually um, between the two people that actually worked to build the city and then a bunch of businessmen who were involved in salvage called the Diver Lords. So the founder of the temple, her husband was murdered, and she was an engineer who, rumor is, discovered some advanced technology that she just wasn't supposed to, and passed that on down to her trusted few. So algemancers are they pretty much take spliceware materials and they create arcane devices from algae. Like you can take algae press, biopress, and keratin fibers, and you can actually make sort of a semi-plastic material. Algae mancers can imbue it with certain energies to allow it to function. So there's an edge you can take called Acolyte, in which you have connections to the Temple of Floating Truth, and they give you an arcane device, or you're a warrior for the temple, and you have an arcane device that has like 10 power points in it. And you can swap it out. So if you are an acolyte, you have like the one power that if you get sick of it, you can change it out for something else.
That's cool. That's interesting. I'm just skimming through
I dig that.
the whatchamacallit that you sent. So, what level of technology are we talking? Is here? Do we have laser pistols, laser guns? Can I be a shark man with like laser pistols?
They exist.
Yes.
However, you need to hide them unless you take the citizen edge, because there's a social breakdown. You have the refugee status, which are the people that have just come off the boat, the standard starting character. And then you have an edge called citizen. And again, it goes based off of like the ancient Roman time period. Is the idea that if you pay taxes into the system, you get certain rights. Like the citizen edge allows you to carry firearms. Refugees can't carry firearms, they can carry melee weapons. Um, you can buy property and you can run for office. So there's some stuff that you can do with that edge. The Temple of Floating Truth, one of their tenets is that only the people that are armed can defend their faith. So its weapons are part of their religion. Like if you're a member of the Temple of Floating Truth, you need to be armed. And a lot of times that'll just be melee weapons, but they definitely believe you have to have a weapon on you as part of your faith. And that's in direct opposition to the Diver Lords or the City Council of Refuse.
All All right, very cool. I have questions. I'm looking at the vehicles in conjunction with the technological levels of things. So I see you've got some kind of submarine, half walking tanks called the crawler. There is a hard suit that you can get into. Is that some kind of like single mech suit that you can hop into? You can dive around in and stuff.
So you have the micro hard suit and you have the macro hard suit. And the micro hard suit, if you're a fan of 90s anime, like say Bubblegum Crisis, that would be what you're looking at. It's a single piece of armor that protects you, that has certain features. Like you can get the variant where it converts into a motorcycle. You can get the variant where it's designed to go underwater. But it's a tough suit. Now the macro hard suit is your mech. It's your Gundam. It's your Power Rangers. It's designed to fight kaiju and sea monsters.
Nice, CJ. This is basically drowned riffs, is what it should be called. You got to.
Well, the power level is a lot lower. Like
Yeah.
in Rifts, it's like let's just throw everything in the kitchen sink. With this, it's a little bit more. You can play this in regular Savage Worlds games.
You're not going to need to buy an extra set of dice to play this. Is that what you're getting at?
I mean, 3 or 4 extra sets. I mean,
is there gasoline or diesel in here?
Biodiesel. You can actually buy an algae farm, and you have to supply your own algae for it. But you can either choose to create algae press materials, or you can make biodiesel, which helps with your fuel supply.
Yeah, I'm wondering how you fuel stuff. If maybe they went the electric route and stuff like that. All the advances we've had in solar and solar power capture and battery power and stuff like that. I have an electric vehicle. I've had it now for 3 years, so I pay attention to what's happening inside of EVs and stuff like that. It's actually pretty sweet, man. We've come so far in the last like 5-10 years. Toyota next year is supposed to be coming out with a solid state battery. And if it works like they say it works on YouTube, kind of a thing, when I'm watching the science shows and whatnot, that's going to be a game changer. Be able to charge your electric vehicle in 10 minutes. They're talking 800,000 to 1 million mile batteries out of these things. That's going to be sweet. And, just the ability to charge it in 10 minutes is going to be awesome.
One of the things about that I keep running into in playtests is going along with that, like the different technology levels. So much of life on Refuse it revolves around like scrap and salvage. So people are going out, and the currency is, like I said, it's a debt-driven currency. But what they exchange is scrap. Like they say, okay, here's some sheet metal, here's some cog pieces, here's some rebar. These are things that you can use to build your house that we can use to fix the flotilla. And if you don't have any of that, we can work on markers and favors. But pretty much it's the idea of it is there are so many different technological levels. The Flotilla Arboretum, it's one of the stretch goals in the Kickstarter. It's actually the fantasy one. The power has gone completely out in Arboretum, and they are living in a medieval style fantasy.
And see, everything that you're telling me about this, I mean, it just I think we talked about this a little bit before. As far as like the best way to like start it, start to or create like anything is to start big and then branch out. So I think that you really, the fact that you really just honed in on like the flotilla refuse and then other things that you can branch out. You're not overwhelming anybody. You're like, okay, here's an element of what we have here in the Drowned War. And if you like this is what we have. This is something else we have. And if you like this is something else we have. I really dig that.
I started out trying to put all of this stuff into one book, and it just overwhelmed everybody that read it. And I was like, okay, now I kind of get splat books. Like I've always had a little bit of a distaste for them, but I'm like, it just has to be done sometimes.
Yeah. It just makes it easier to digest in some senses. Not so much like as a money grab, but if you're trying to, you don't want anybody to drink from a fire hose, in my opinion. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, there's a lot of settings that are like that. I'm not trying to crap on Fox and the setting that they did the Buccaneers stuff, but I don't know if you remember that review from the Wild Eye, but that book, in my opinion, could have been so much better. The best part of that book was the stuff that they made up with that little island that they had created. I can't remember what it's called, because most of the book was basically just about history. It was about the French hate the Spanish because of this, and then England's involved, and it was like, when I was reading it, I was like, man, I don't want a history lesson. I don't need to know all of this stuff. And then the stuff that they created for it through Hell and High Water, that little Hell and High Water place was friggin' fantastic. This island that bubbled up from the bottom and stuff, and you go on it, they got mutated panthers and shit to attack your ass. Like, that's the stuff that this book should have been made of. But yeah, that's sort of the thing. Is like, I guess I've never written anything, so what the hell do I know? But man, there's got to be a hard balance between how much do you tell, like, how do you control your verbal diarrhea? Because like you can tell, sometimes I get excited about shit and I just go on these big long tangents and start rambling and stuff. I'd have to reel myself in.
I'm not going to stop him either, because I think it's hilarious when he goes off on these.
He's like, look at this idiot go.
So just keeps surprising me. Like, I never knew there were so many poop jokes in the world.
Oh man, I'm telling you, now I'm not even close to being done.
We just get warmed up.
That's right.
Wow.
You've actually got, like, this is really fleshed out. So when this goes to Kickstarter, how long until we get our stuff? How long till I get my goods? What is the Kickstarter going to involve? Obviously, it's going to be PDF. Obviously, it's going to be hard copy or soft copy. Have you looked at the stuff with the drive-through? Eric was saying that they've changed their pod pricing for their print-on-demand stuff.
The big issue with, I have looked at it, and the big issue that everything I've looked at, and going through this before with another company, shipping and handling is the biggest price. So I'm going to have to just do a digital voucher for that. I've toyed around with the idea, but there are some people that they absolutely have to have a physical copy.
Yeah.
And so I want to make that possible, but I'm not able to handle a warehouse or anything like that. I can only do the voucher through drive-through, because otherwise I would just be going bankrupt.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with that. The print-on-demand stuff from drive-through is top-notch. Like you've seen it. You've got the Dead End. That's probably pod from drive-through. I got a bunch of hard copy index card RPG books from them. Fantastic. I think Lamoureux did Wise Guys through pod, didn't he?
Wise Guys and After both are through pod. And honestly, with Savage Worlds, I think it sort of fits in the motif. I like the soft covers rather than the hard covers in some sense.
Right.
Like, I don't know how you guys got started on Savage Worlds, but it was deluxe, man. It was that little, that little $10 trade paperback, man. So
I got started on Savage Worlds ages ago. I was living with, like, one of my first roommates here in Roanoke, and we had a friend that we all worked at the movie theater, and we just joked around about doing a Fallout game, Fallout 3, and he tried to run Savage Worlds from memory. And so when he tried to run it from memory, I bought the book. And when I bought the deluxe hardcover book, I saw that they had Deadlands Noir had just come out. So I got that, and wow, that was a crucible running with those guys.
Right.
So then I found Roll20, and from Roll20, I found my people, the Star City Savages. Well, they were the Star City, or the Savage Worlds global group, but that fell apart. And when it fell apart, I was like, "Hey guys, come over to my group, Star City," and that blossomed. That's where I found, like, the people that have really helped me make the Drowned War possible. So Star City, Dave, Lou, Anders, Care, you guys are great. I appreciate it. Phil, Roos, you guys are wonderful.
Man,
so you listen to that.
That's nice.
Hope you guys were listening.
Right? Because we used to have peeps, right, Jay? We had peeps. We had Nerds International, and they all left us, the fucking assholes. And then
Right.
Harrison left the Wild Eye podcast. Fuck him too. And now the whole Wild Eye's collapsed, and Eric's left me. I got nobody now. I got you.
You got me, Gary.
And
You got
Wow.
me.
yeah, Dustin, man.
You got me, babe.
Well, actually, if you want a community, and this is just like what Dustin says,
Yeah.
I'm actually Dustin's invited me to be a member of the Star City Savages. I'm
Yeah.
a little shy, I don't
Well-
really know anybody, but I read a lot of some of the stuff, so it's really
Yeah.
great. And also, the Savage Rift Discord community is pretty fantastic too. So
Yeah, well, those guys are
I'll-
East Coast
I'll-
though. We don't mingle with the East Coasters.
Yeah, because
Right?
we're just the dirty, unwashed savages of yore, like
Right?
the ancient people.
Right? You guys come from
Right.
the future. That's the problem.
Yeah, right. No, we come from the past. You guys are in the.
No,
You guys are in the.
it's
well, you're 3
we're in
hours
the
ahead
past.
of us, so
Yeah.
it's like,
You're in the past.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
8:00 here.
yeah, it's
8
3
o'clock.
hours ahead, and it's 11 o'clock there, isn't it? In Roanoke.
Yep. Yeah, it
Right?
is.
So what happens in the next 3 hours? Tell me a story.
Well, we do repel the alien invasion.
What? Oh
I
man.
was worried.
Oh yeah, like they got out of their ships and found out that like COVID was still a thing, and they just hauled butt right back in. Like
Man, I would not be
There you go.
opposed
the
to
Illuminati was onto something. They're like, we're just gonna give you all botched vaccines so that like the space vampires die when they touch you.
Wait a second though. Was there any anal probing going on? Because now I'm going to be mad if you got rid of the aliens with the anal probes.
They're still down at the red light district, Gary.
I got to pay for those. I want some free alien probing. I want them to,
Or
get.
do you?
Yeah, right. Nice little couple.
All right, the probe aliens are not aliens. They're just like miserable human beings from the future who have just they need our undamaged genetic code because the future is full of radiation and plastic. They eat nothing but soy in the future.
Man, you're kind of harshing my anal probe buzz I had going on there.
I'm not familiar with any kind of anal probe that wasn't harsh, Gary.
Hey, there's some gentle probing that you can get. That costs extra sometimes, but
I was about to say.
The thought of that just I hear Celine Dion in the background and it just scares the shit out of me.
you're paying top dollar for that action. But
Well, let me,
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can dovetail this back to what we were talking about. So, Dustin, the big question is, when is this Kickstarter going to happen?
All right, July 6th.
July 6th.
July 6th. We're starting up on a Tuesday.
No,
It's going to run for 30 days. I'm obviously doing promotion. I've got to get like the second book out. And I'm still working. I'm just noodling it down. I'm doing everything. So I'm writing. I've got an editor. Thank you, Calvin. I've got people that are playtesting that are giving me feedback. I've got other writers that are doing adventures and adding to it. But a lot of it is me. Like I'm doing the layout. Carl does an amazing job. He is wonderful. If you can afford Carl and he has the time, go with him. But he's so busy. He doesn't have time, so I've got to do this one on my own.
has Carl invited you onto his yacht yet?
No, he's not.
Man, that guy, he's making some big dollars, especially after some of the things that he's been doing. He's actually, he was telling me he's got his little mitts into Savage Rift's Atlantis. We were talking to him there. I think he might have said that on the last episode of the Wild Die. I'm not sure. Maybe afterwards. I don't know. But yeah, he did a little bit of trade dress on that.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and also Roberson said something about it too. He said they got old Carl help too. So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he does great work, man. He
Yeah.
does. Like he has earned every penny.
Yep. And a
I
nice
really feel
guy
it.
too. Like there's
Yeah.
if he wasn't such a nice guy, if like Carl was an asshole, man, that'd be a whole different story. But Carl's like the nice. Oh yeah, I'll do anything for you, man. Oh let me. Oh yeah, that's no problem. It'd be like I want Carl to say, "Fuck you, I ain't doing any of this shit, man. I'm Carl Kiesler, motherfucker. What? I want
Like put the grill in, put the shades on.
Yeah, I want him to
Get Dr. Dre blasting in the background.
Right. What does Carl Kiesler have to choke a bitch? I want to go off like that. It ain't gonna happen.
I'm like, when do you sleep, man? When do you sleep? I feel bad. Like I felt bad, like messaging him about it. I'm like, my gosh, like just take a nap, man. Pay you $10 to just take a nap.
The guys over at 3T Podcast have this little snippet sound effect thing, and it's like, I'm just trying to blow up, and then I'm gonna act like I don't know nobody. That's gonna be Carl.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna remember any of us.
He's hitting the big times. What else you got for us? Tell me some more stuff, and then we're gonna pack this thing up. It's been an hour. What did we miss?
I had something. Oh gosh, I had it, and I lost it. It was like right there, and then we just started like verbal diarrhea, and now I'm like, let me just sift through this.
Will there be nudes of Dustin Smith in the back pages of the book?
You have to back at the highest level.
Can I get a Dustin Smith bookmark the same length as your weenus? Maybe actually an image of your wiener on the bookmark.
he wants a penile
right?
bookmark, you know.
And then for extra coolness, Jay, instead of just having that one little string or the two little yarns that come off, just get like a big bush.
You ain't right, man.
How much? What level do I have to back at to get that?
It's the unlisted level. That would be the $5,000.
Right.
Oh man, that would be sweet.
That's the VIP Gold Krugerrand level.
I mean, you know, like let's be honest, folks. Let's not get into what I'm going to do for enough cash.
Right? Everybody's got their price.
A whole show based on that.
Everybody's got their price.
Yeah. I'm releasing like Kickstarter. I'm releasing one shots leading up to the Kickstarter. The one that just came out is False Doctrine. If you check that out on Drive Thru RPG, you actually see a Kitsune's face on the front because she's like the character there. Coming up, if I make like you got the Kickstarter rewards. Let me see. Where's my preview mode? Some of the things that I've been working on, you guys can see the Kickstarter, right?
No.
Yep, I sure can.
Oh, is it in the documents?
He sent me a link separately, so I'll get it.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for sharing, buddy.
I just forgot. I just had to share 500 other things, dude.
Man.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Like I
smoke drugs before we do the show anymore. Well, that's not true.
You're not the boss of me.
Oh, Gary, I've been sending them to you on Discord in your messages too.
Oh, really? Am I on Discord here? Oh yeah, okay, I got you.
Well, yeah, you're on Discord. How do you think we're recording, you ding ding?
Listen, I can't change because I use the Discords for the imaging. So if I click on this thing, see now it's all like if you look at the stream, it's all messed up, and I got to go back.
There you go. Yeah, so I've been sending them to him on MeWe, so that
I understand.
I figured so.
Right. All right, I feel like a touch of
a highly technical. It's a highly technical process here.
Right. Right. I'm trying to get it.
But you should have that link now, there, bud. But no, it's awesome. I've already made sure that I've got it saved, and it's going to alert me whenever it kicks off. And so I'm going to go ahead as soon as I'm on there. I'm going to look at those tiers and be like, how much money can I just give Dustin Allen Smith?
Yeah, man.
So the highest level, listed level, you know, the non-wiener level is the Diver Lord. And so it's who runs Refuse? You run Refuse. The City Council of Refuse is composed of 5 powerful businessmen known as the Diver Lords. At this level, you work with our writers to create one of the 5 examples of the Diver Lords to be used in the book.
Nice.
So how it works is the Diver Lords are meant to be interchangeable. So you could kill them off and another one will rise up because no matter how many times you cut off the head of a Hydra, another one appears. But the backers actually get to have a named character with art because they're paying really for the art and to put that in there. And so that's an example character. Like,
Dustin, I'm
Yes.
arrogant enough to throw you money so that way I can have something named after me. I did it with Wise Guys and I got a taste for it and I loved it.
I
So
know,
I'm telling
right?
you, any chance that I get to to indulge in a little like NPC creation with monetarily, I'm happy to do so. So yeah, if I
So
so
go
yeah,
ahead.
no,
The
I'm just
diver
saying.
lo- the diver lords go off of this concept of the Temple of Floating Truth has a major problem with the diver lords, and there's 5 of them. So no matter who they are, they associate them with 5 thieves that rob you of enlightenment. That's their philosophical nature behind it. And so I'm trying to find out what they're actually listed as, but they're greed, lust, attachment, um, pride, arrogance. Like I'm trying to but pretty much like everybody's like, why is attachment a problem? I'm like, well, think of it more as obsession. Like things
Mhm.
like greed and lust are very easy to sort of understand, but attachment is kind of hard because you're like, well, we're all attached. Like we all have an attachment. Like, no, this is kind of like it consumes your thoughts. Like you ruminate on it, you obsess about it.
Right.
So yeah,
Mhm.
you would they would be themed around that. So instead of your 7 deadly sins, it's your 5 philosophical character flaws.
Nice. Man,
Yeah.
might have to throw some money at that.
Yep, that's pretty sweet. I ruminate over Whoppers. Today is Whopper Wednesday. I didn't get my Whopper today.
Well,
Yes,
you have so if you wanted to like some of the other ones, you can do a guru, which is one of the Temple of Floating Truth, and that's like 250. Which you work to create one of the leaders within the temple, an example. And then acolyte, you have like a warrior for the temple, and then devotee, which is pretty much just somebody that sort of like pledges themselves. You can be in the lore, you can be a devotee and a citizen, but you cannot be an acolyte and a citizen.
gotcha.
So
Jay
yeah.
can be the bong lord of the flotilla refuse.
I like that.
Mhm.
In fact, yeah, that's my new title,
In
Bong
fact,
Lord J.
I think what you should do is we should go back to the spliceware thing, Jay, and you should have marijuana spliced, and you'll just be like a plant, and then people could just come and pluck you and smoke you.
That sounds amazing, man. That's my dream.
Bong Lord Raz J Raz.
Yeah.
You have like it's spliced so you grow it as a farm off of you, and then they've taken a bunch of like engine parts and turned it into your gigantic super bong.
Yes. Yes, indeed. I like where all this is going, man. You guys are pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Sweet.
this is all fantastic.
All right, well, let's put a pin in this bad boy. So what was the date again? It was July 6th.
July 6th,
That's right. I remember.
the first Tuesday in July.
No, that'll work too because that's right after payday, man. So more than happy to
Mhm.
contribute.
Yeah, well, it's on Kickstarter. You don't have to pay
I'm,
right
I-
away. You can always say that you paid.
I'm wait.
That's true. I
I'm
was
waiting for that sweet stimulus money to come in. I'm just like,
Right.
come on, Joey. Come on, Joey.
Wow.
Shoot
All
him
right.
under the pressure.
All right, I'm going to hit the outro bed liner, and we're going to get after this sucker. I got to make sure that I'm pumping this out in the right channel here, because I think it's got to be this one. And then I'm going to hit this button here, and it's going to do a thing.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Sweet. All right. That's it for this edition of the Murder Hobo RPG show. We hope you enjoyed it. Now that it's 2021, actually, fuck, we don't care who we talk about. Get your vaccinations, you conspiracy theorists, freaks. We could start conventions in person together.
That reminds me. I signed up for the Savage Cruise.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
If you did it, hold on.
Yeah.
If Dustin did it, dude, and I think Eric's trying to get on there. I might have to throw my name in there.
Yeah.
I
Like
do
I
it too,
plan to
but-
run a game
Well,
there.
if you do it, I might. Well, Dustin's going to be there, man.
Dude, I feel like
We might
that's
have to do it, my dude.
that is how the Apothecine, whatever it's called, starts, and you guys are just going off on the flotilla,
Anthropocene.
right? The Flotilla Refuse is really what that ship's going to be called, with you shitheads on it.
Well, after we get done with it, yeah. It's going to be the diarrhea flotilla. If we
read the blue part, Jay.
Yeah, if you're interested in submitting, if you're interested in submitting to community questions, which we don't really read, so you can hear us poke fun at you and not answer your questions honestly, you can do so at murderhoboshow.gmail.com. Otherwise, send your hate mail to please. I actually don't have anything to hate today.
Oh,
So I'm actually feeling pretty good.
it's my favorite part of the show, dude.
I know. I because Dustin's on here, man, and he's got me all pumped up for this. I really didn't have a chance to nurture that little seed of hate that I have.
Wow.
So,
And you're stoned.
yeah. What day is that?
Yeah, typical Wednesday. Right. When is he not stoned? You can also catch us on Twitter at The Murder Hobo Show, on YouTube at The Murder Hobo Show, where I show you how to make three-dimensional battle maps for role-playing and Tabletop Simulator, among other stuff. You can watch me do this live on Twitch at The Murder Hobo Show, but be warned, there isn't a set time for the show. Actually, I'm thinking, Jay, I don't know how you feel about this. We're going to do a show next week, but I'm going to try and do alternating Wednesday nights, where on Wednesday night I'm going to build some stuff, and then the next week we'll do the show, and then I'll, you know what I mean? I'm going to try and get into some of that, and maybe stream a little bit more often.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's because right now it's just kind of random.
Yeah, just whenever you feel like it.
Right.
And speaking of which, you can find the things we discussed in the show notes, organized mode by most recent at the top, over at murderhoboshow.podbean.com.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next time. We're going to have another action-packed show where we don't know what we're going to be talking about because we just do this kind of thing last minute and throw it all together, and that's why it's such a friggin' pile of dung heap. But I would say that we're out of here. But Dustin, you got about another 30 seconds. You got anything you want to hit up? Star City Savages? What else you got going on? That's it?
We have a Star City Savages page. We have a Star City Savages Discord. Look for us on Facebook. Go on Amazon, buy Lex Talos, or just read it on your Kindle. I would really appreciate that. Get into Binary Abyss. That's the series.
Sweet.
Yeah, Star City Savages.
You also got that
Facebook.
Yeah, you got that Roll20 Star City Savages thing going on too, don't you? Hit you up on Discord first.
We have a group where we actually play on Roll20.net.
Hey,
it's been crazy.
Nobody cares about your welfare VTT, mister. Right,
Jay?
Hey, what?
All right. Have a great gaming week, everybody. We're out of here. Say goodbye.
Adios. Thanks again, Dustin.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hasta luego, folks.
It's good having you, man. It's good to see you again. The Murder Hobo RPG show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or that appear on our website are the property and copyright of the respected owners. All items are used under fair use for educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo RPG show, copyright 2021, all rights reserved.